Good morning, everyone. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to the fresh and new episode 1 of ServiceDesk Plus Masterclass 2025, where we take your IT service management skills to the next level. Whether you're a beginner looking to set up your help desk or a seasoned professional seeking to fine tune your operations, you're in the right place. Before we dive into the session, let me quickly introduce myself to you guys. I'm Kavya Kannan, a product expert in Service Desk Plus, and I have been with ManageEngine for the past 3 years. So, without any further delay, getting into the agenda for today. In this episode, we will walk you through how to set up the instance, that is, department specific instance configuration, including its sites and regions. Then, we will look on how to configure the ESM portal and the customization options that is available for the ESM directory. Then we will look on how to configure the mail server settings, which will allow us to enable the automatic email to ticket conversion. We will look on how to customize the attributes like category, priority, level, etc., which are our help desk attributes. We will look on the configuration options that is available for the Zia chatbot, which is our AI assistant, which will help the end users to leverage the self service capability and to resolve the L1 tickets by themselves. Finally, we will visualize the help desk metrics through pre built, custom, and query reports, and we will look on the options that we have for converting them into dashboards as well. Our Service Desk Plus application is available in three different editions, which is standard, professional, and enterprise. Our standard edition comprises of the basic IT help desk software, including the knowledge base, SLA management, and help desk reports. Then comes our professional edition with the help desk management and the asset management. And finally, our enterprise edition, which is our complete ITIL suite with the help desk management, asset management, and project management. We are currently going to use the enterprise edition now. Let's see how to get up and running with your ITSM operations. Today, we are diving into Service Desk Plus, a powerful IT service management solution that has helped countless organizations. Our goal is simple. By the end of the session, you will have a clear understanding of how to configure, customize, and make the most of Service Desk Plus so you can transform the way you manage your IT services. So, getting into the first agenda for today, which is instance configuration and adding the users. Let's get into the application. So, as I told you, I'm currently using the Enterprise Edition. So, all of the user addition methods are currently available under the ESM directory. So, when we talk about ESM directory, it is the page where you will have the common configuration and customization options that is common for all the instances that is created over single one installation. So let's get into the methods using which the users are added. So the first method would be adding the user manually by giving the details like the employee ID, primary email. You can save and create the user into the application. So this would be a very traditional method, and it would be suggested when you have a less number of users, right? On the other hand, if you are an organization who handle all your users in a CSV file, then we have import from CSV option, where you can select the respective file and map the fields from the file to the fields in the application, and you can bring in all of the users into the users list. Then we have Active Directory import, which is suitable for an organization who is handling and managing all your users in an Active Directory. It is very simple that you're going to click on import users, and you're going to specify the domain controller credentials and the fields that you're going to import. And when you click on next, you will be able to find the OUs from which you can select and bring in the users into the application. In the same way, we have LDAP, which is for the non-Windows users. Similar to that of Active Directory, you're going to configure the credentials of the domain controller, and once you click on save and import, all the users who are present in your domain controller will be added into ServiceDesk Plus applications users list. So as we have seen how the users are imported and brought into the application, next comes the question like, do we have any classification for these users? Yes, we do have. So for that, let me get into one of the instance, which is our IT instance in the application. And on the top right corner, which you see is the admin settings icon. And under the admin settings icon, you can find the respective configuration and customization options grouped under its respective sections. So let's get into the users and permission section. So users and permission section will tell you the two different types of classifications that is available for users, where they are requesters and technicians. So requesters are the persons who are going to request for a service, and on the other hand, technicians are the persons who are going to provide the service that the requester is asking for. Converting a user into a technician is very simple, that you have to select the user and click on actions and select change as technician option and click on change now. Automatically this user will be converted into a technician within seconds. So as we have seen the classification of users, next comes the question, do we have any grouping options? Yes, users can be grouped into user groups and technicians can be grouped into support groups. So when we talk about user groups, let's take a scenario like you have your organization site located in London, and currently there is a network down issue that's happening on the London site, and there is already users started reporting the issue that is happening on the network down issue. And if you want to make an announcement to all the users present in that site saying that we are already working on this and it will be fixed in 1 or 2 days, so by this we can avoid the duplication of the same issue being raised under that same site. So this will help you to perform a collective announcement based on the site, department, or even the job titles. And we have some other categories as well, based on which you can group certain users and perform a collective announcement. On the other hand, we have support groups, which is for the technicians. So technicians can be grouped up based on their skill set and expertise under the respective support groups. So let's take, there might be some technicians who are well versed in handling hardware problems, and on the other hand, some technicians will be well versed in handling network problems, right? So in that case, if you are going to group the technicians who are well versed in handling hardware problems in a separate group, automatically when a request is created and added into ServiceDesk Plus regarding the hardware problem, you can assign it to this support group, and the solution for that problem will be brought out in a quicker rate, which will help us to satisfy the users in a larger manner. In the same way, you can create your own support groups based on the skill set or the expertise of the technicians. Next comes the roles that we can provide to technicians. So when we talk about roles are the specific set of permissions that you can provide for the technicians. Under roles, we have some of the default custom roles that is available in the ServiceDesk Plus. And if you want to create a new role, you can just click on add new role option and select the respective modules and the permissions that you want to provide for the requester who is converted into a technician, and click on save, and you can associate that role to the technician as well. So by this, you can make sure that your technicians are accessing the right module with the right permissions as well. Now we have seen the classifications, grouping, and the permissions that can be provided for the users. Next, getting into ESM directory, which is our enterprise service management. So when we talk about enterprise service management, we all know how IT service management helps IT teams manage incidents, requests, and the assets efficiently. But what about HR, facilities, and finance, and the other departments? They also deal with service request approvals and workflows just like IT, right? So it is necessary that we have to provide ESM, which extends the ITSM principle to all the business functions, creating a single platform for handling the service request across different teams. ESM in Service Desk Plus helps business move beyond the IT support and bring in all the departments together under a single installation, which makes it efficient and user friendly. So as we are currently on the admin settings icon, we can get to the ESM directory page from this option as well. So this option, this page ESM directory will have the complete customization and configuration options that is common for all the instances created. So when we talk about ESM directory page, first comes our organization details, where you can specify the name of the organization, the address and its respective contact information. And next comes the regions, where you can specify the regions in which the organizations are present, and the further classification, which is the sites, where you can create sites that are present in all of your regions. And then comes the further subdivision, which is departments, where you can create departments and associate the departments that are present in the respective sites as well. And next comes the organization roles. So when we talk about roles, we have already seen the roles that can be provided for the technicians, right? So on the other hand, if you want to provide a higher level of a role to a user, which can be an organizational level or a regional level or a site level or a department level, you can use this option, which is organization role, and associate a user to this particular roles. By clicking on the associate user option, you will be able to perform this. So next comes service desk instances. So when we talk about creation of instances, you might all think that this might be a very big process. No, it's just going to take minutes to create one instance. You can create up to 50 service desk instances right within one installation. So let me show you how we can create a new instance. Click on the new instance option and specify the name of the instance that you're going to create, and specify the type, whether it's facilities or human resource, which will help you to bring the default templates and workflows that is available for the facilities and human resource. But if you want to create a brand new instance and you want to start it from scratch, go with a blank type. And you can specify the owner of the instance, who is going to be the SD admin of that particular instance as well. And you can specify the alias URL for this instance, using which the users can directly land on this particular new instance. And you can associate the license. So when we talk about license, there might be instances where you want to allocate different type of edition license for different instances. Yes, we have that option as well. So if you want to allocate an enterprise edition license for IT help desk with 20 technicians or 30 technicians, you can go ahead. And on the other hand, if you want a professional edition for the HR instance, you can go with that as well. So by this way, just by clicking on create, an instance will be created within minutes. Next comes the ESM portal customization that we have. So when we talk about ESM portal, you will all have a question like, what is an ESM portal? So ESM portal is nothing but which is the landing page, which will take an user to this will be the landing page of the user when they log into the application. So this will help them to take them to their respective instances in which they are present. So just by selecting the instance in which they are present, they will be able to navigate to that instance, and they can perform their action, whether they are going to create a request, make an approval, or anything can be done from this ESM portal. Heading back to the ESM directory and the portal customization option. So this ESM portal can be customized, where you can change the layout, the content, you can organize the instances in how it is shown. All of these things can be done from here. And we also have option for changing the default landing page. As we saw that, we see that the ESM portal is the default landing page, right? So in case if you want users to land on to a particular instance, say IT help desk or HR instance, you can select the instance and make it as the default landing page as well. And we also have option for URL redirection that is available for all the service desk instances as well. So by this, we see the options that we have for ESM customization. Next, As we have brought in users, we have created instances. Next comes the question like, what are all the authentication methods that we have using which users will authenticate into Service Desk Plus? So basically, we have normal authentication, which is local authentication, where users are going to enter the username and password and they are going to select local authentication and just log in. Other than this, we have other authentication methods like Active Directory, which is AD authentication. As we have imported users from Active Directory, you can use the credentials of the Active Directory and select the domain from which the users are present and they can log into the application. And in the same way as we have done LDAP import, we have our LDAP authentication as well, where they are going to specify the LDAP domain in which they are present and enter the credentials of the LDAP authentication, and they are going to log into the application. So this is the authentication methods that we have. Other than this, if you want to add an extra layer of security for your authentication, there comes our two-factor authentication. So two-factor authentication will help you to add an extra layer of security to logins when the users log into the application. So this two-factor authentication basically works on something you know and something that you have, right? So the first process of authentication will be done using the password that you already know. And on the second level, you will be authenticating using the OTP that you have. So it is basically working on the process like something you know and something you have. Two-factor authentication in Service Desk Plus can be done using two different methods, which is email verification and Google Authenticator. It is completely based on your organizational requirements to choose either of these methods. So when we talk about two-factor authentication for user logins, we also have two-factor authentication available for the admin configuration as well. So when we talk about authentication for admin configurations, let's take, there might be technicians who have the permissions to change the security settings or the backup schedule or some of the important admin level configurations, right? So if you want to add an extra layer of security for the technicians before they change the security settings or the backup schedule, you can enable this option, and this will allow them to enter the OTP before they change any settings that are related to the admin level. And on the latest versions of the application, we also have option where two factor authentication where can be specifically assigned to either requesters or technicians or any set of people as well. So these are the authentication methods using which users can authenticate into Service Desk Plus. So let's take, you don't want any of these authentication methods. You just want a single click and you just want to log into the application. So there comes our SAML single sign-on, which is Security Assertion Markup Language Single Sign-on, which helps us to log into the application by exchanging the data between the identity provider and the service provider, eliminating the need for entering multiple passwords. So it is simple as that. You're going to configure the service provider details of our Service Desk Plus into the identity provider, and you're going to specify the identity provider details in the Service Desk Plus and save the settings, and you will be able to access SAML single sign-on, which is similar to this option as you can see. So on the login page, once the SAML single sign-on is configured, you will see this option, and by just clicking on this, you will be able to log in if you have already authenticated on your Service Desk Plus application. So next, getting on to the, when we talk about SAML identity providers, we already have 5 identity providers configured and tested. We have their configuration documents as well available on the admin guide, and they are Okta, OneLogin, Azure, Google Workspace, and ADFS, which is Active Directory Federation Services. So you can make use of those configuration documents and perform the actions as well. So now users are brought into the application. created instance, everything is fine. Next comes the question like, what are all the methods using which they are going to create request? So when we talk about request creation, we have different methods. They can log into the self-service portal and create tickets based on the templates that they have, and also they can chat with the technician, they can make a phone call to the technician, and we also have Microsoft Teams integration which is available with Service Desk Plus, using which they can create tickets right from the MS Teams portal itself. And the other method that we have is mail server settings. So when we talk about mail server settings, getting back to the IT instance admin settings, we have the separate section for mail server settings and getting into the incoming settings. So let's take a scenario where a requester is going to drop an email to the mailbox that is configured in the incoming settings. Automatically, if you have configured that mailbox in the incoming settings, then that email will be fetched into Service Desk Plus and created as a ticket automatically without any intervention that is needed. So we support connection protocols like POPIS, IMAPIS, EWS, and Microsoft Graph. We also have authentication type supported, which is basic and OAuth 2.0. This settings is going to be very simple, that you're going to enter the server name and the credentials and specify the email address from which the mails has to be fetched in, and you're going to click on save and the incoming settings will be saved. And you can also check the settings is working just by clicking on the fetch a sample mail. In the same way, you can configure the outgoing settings as well. When we talk about outgoing settings, we have our SMTP and SMTPS protocols supported. Similar to that of incoming, you're going to specify the server name and the credentials of the mailbox, and you're going to click on save. By this, you will be able to send replies from Service Desk Plus and also to send the system related notifications. Next comes spam filter option that we have under mail server settings. So let's take a scenario where all of the emails that are dropped into the mailbox is fetched and created as tickets. There might be a lot of emails, right? There might be a lot of tickets present in the request list. So in order to avoid that, in case there might be some spam emails, out of office emails, and if you don't want any of those emails to get fetched into Service Desk Plus and created as a ticket, you can specify the condition, and you can make sure that if this condition is matched, automatically that email will not be fetched into Service Desk Plus and will not be created as a ticket. By this, you can avoid the unnecessary emails being created as a tickets. Next comes the email command. Email command is a feature using which you can parse the email content, that is the incoming email content, and you can automatically set various request fields like categories, status, and priority right from reading the email content. You have to enable the email command, and after this, you're going to specify the email subject contains, and you're going to specify the data, that is the help desk attributes that you want to automatically assign in the email content. And once this email is fetched and created as a ticket based on the values that you have provided on your email content, the request will be assigned with the help desk attributes automatically. So by this, we conclude the mail server settings that we have in the application, using which you can automatically convert an email to a ticket. So next comes the help desk customization that we have. So as we see that we can create request right from the self-service portal. So let me take you to one template that I have created, which is email attachment problem template. So users, when they try to create request using the self-service portal, they will be using this templates, which is called as forms, and they will create request. So in this form, you can find certain fields like status, mode, level, urgency, impact, and priority. Now comes the question like, do we have any options for customizing these fields? Yes, we do have. That is right under admin settings and customization section, and under help desk, you can find all of these default help desk attributes, and you can customize them as per your organizational requirements. First comes the category, where you can create your own categories, subcategories, and its respective items as well. Next comes the status, where you can create different status including the stop timer, whether it should be a running timer or stop timer. By clicking on new and specifying whether it should be a type of in progress or completed, you can create a status and make use of that status in the template as well. Next comes the level, where you can specify your own level, customized levels based on which the request has to be handled. And next comes the mode, based on which the request is created. You can add your own modes if you have any other than this default modes into the application and make use of them on the template. And next comes the impact, which shows the business criticality of that particular issue. So there might be scenarios in different organizations. The impact will be calculated based on the affected user count, right? So in order to make sure that you have that impact same like affects 50 users or 100 users, you can enter your own customized impact and have that value entered in the template as well. Next comes the urgency, which is the speed in which that particular request has to be resolved. You can add your own urgency levels that you want and make sure that it is added to the template as well. So, when we talk about impact and urgency, let's take a scenario where the impact of a particular request is high and the urgency of that particular request is high. Then automatically the priority, which is the importance that has to be given to that particular request, should also be high, right? You can specify your own priorities that you want, and using our priority matrix we can make this automated just by specifying the rows and column matrix that you want. Like for example, if impact is high and if urgency is high, you can specify the priority as high as well. By marking this configuration, automatically when a template is created and if impact is chosen as high and urgency is chosen as high, the priority will be set to the high automatically. And if you want to override this, you just have to enable this toggle button. Next comes the request types. Our Service Desk Plus application supports two different request types, which is incident and service. You can create your own other request types as well. Next, we have option for creating your own task types, and you can also create your own work log types, which can be used in the request templates. So these are the customization options that we have for the help desk, using which you can swiftly collect informations in forms and templates. Next, coming on to Zia. Zia chatbot, our AI assistant. It isn't just another chatbot, an intelligent virtual assistant. With Zia, smart recommendations and automations will help you the way you manage your IT request, reducing the response time and improving the user satisfaction. So as you get started with Service Desk Plus, remember you're not alone. Zia is here to assist you in every single step. Zia will help you with features like predictions, actions, buttons, workflows, and functions as well. Getting into the Zia configuration, under admin settings, we have a separate section for Zia and Zia configurations. First, we are going to look into the Zia predictions that can be done by Zia. The first prediction that Zia can do is validate a request reopening. So let's take a scenario where a request is already closed without any response of the requester. There is no response for that request for past 3 days or 4 days. Based on the automation rules we have set, the request is closed. Now, after a certain period of time, the requester is replying to that request saying, I'm fine with the solution, you can go ahead and close. This email will trigger the request to get it opened, right? But it is not necessary that this email should open the request. In this case, you can add that respective customized data either to the reopen section or to retain closure section, using which Zia will start training itself with all the values that you have entered, and based on that it will perform the action whether it has to reopen the request or whether it has to stay the request in the closed status itself. So by this we can avoid the unnecessary request getting reopened, and we can avoid the SLA breaches as well. Next prediction that we have from Zia is Zia is able to predict the category and the template that is assigned to the particular request when it is created. So when a requester tries to create a request and enters the subject as Avaya telephone is not working, then automatically, as you can see, Zia will suggest on a web form saying that the category should be telephone and the template should be telephone not working, which is assigned to this particular subject. Whether you can apply this or reject this. Using this prediction, we can make sure that the right template and category is assigned to the request without any intervention of the technicians. Next comes the other prediction which is done by Zia, which is users approval action. Basically, user approval is done using the approval. There will be an approval email sent to the approver, and he will be selecting whether approve, reject, or whether whatever information they need. On the other hand, if the approver is going to send an approval email, say there is an email content saying yes, you can go ahead and approve, no, reject it. So all of those data can be customized and added under the approve, reject, and need clarification sections. And based on this, Zia will train itself and make the actions whether it should approve, reject, or ask for need clarification. So these are the predictions that are available by Zia, which you can enable from the Zia configuration and make use of it. Next comes Zia bot. In order to enable Zia bot, the toggle button on the top should be enabled. Once this is enabled, you can see Zia on the bottom of ServiceDesk Plus. So we have 20 different actions and buttons that is available by Zia by default added to ServiceDesk Plus. So let's take an example. Let's try creating a request in Zia. So I'm going to just specify the name. The subject of the request is laptop is not working, and when I click on add request, the request is created. So it's just going to take seconds to create one request, and if you want to continue, you can just click on yes or no, whatever you need. In a similar way, we, as I told you, we have 20 different actions available by Zia, and if users want to know what are all the actions, they have to just enter backslash and they can select the actions that they need, whether it should be add note, add task, or assign request. So let me try adding one note, which is add note. And I'm going to specify the request ID in which you want to add the note and enter the request ID and specify the notes, like for example notes, and the notes will be added to that particular request ID as well. And if you want to continue, you can click on yes. In the same way, it is possible to perform other 20 actions as well. Like it is not needed, you have to get into the request page, search for that request ID, get into the request details page, and then enter the notes. It is going to be very simple with Zia. Also, you can search for solutions right from Zia just by entering the search string. Let's take, I'm going to search for a string which is upgrade related, and the upgrade related solution will be provided for me by Zia itself. It is not needed, we have to get into the solution module and view the solutions. In the same way, we have ChatGPT integration available with our ServiceDesk Plus. Once that is done, you will be able to ask GPT right from our Zia bot. So Zia bot will have an option to ask the GPT right from our Zia bot channel itself. In the same way, you can perform buttons, which is Zia buttons available, and actions, which is both are the same, where you can add note, add task, you can assign tasks, you can assign request. All of those things can be done from this actions and buttons. So when we talk about adding notes and adding all these requests, there is a flow, right? It asked for the request ID, then it asked for the notes, and then it asked whether we want to continue or not. So all of these seems to be a workflow, right? So we have our configure Zia workflow, which you can customize and configure just by dragging and dropping based on your requirements as well. And we also have Zia widget. So it's not necessary that we have to get into Service Desk Plus to chat with Zia. You can copy this code and add it before the closing tag of a website's HTML source code, and Zia bot will be available on that website as well. So it is just simple as that. You're going to copy the code and add to the website page, and Zia will be available there, and you can chat, create, and perform the actions that is available. So by this, we conclude the options that we have for Zia predictions, actions, and workflows. Getting into the last part, which is our reports and dashboards. So reports play a major role in order to visualize the help desk metrics and in order to calculate the performance of your organization, right? It is mandatory that we have to make a decision and recommendation based on these reports. So in order to create reports, we have our separate report module available in Service Desk Plus, under which you can create your own reports. By default, we have more than 180 plus pre-built canned reports available in the application. So just by clicking on the report that you want, the report will be executed and it will fetch the results as you need. You can also edit these pre-built reports as well. But if you want to create a custom report based on your requirement, yes, we have custom report. Just by clicking on custom report and selecting the module from which you want to create the request, you have to click on proceed to report wizard, select the columns that you want and add it to the display columns. You can specify the filter options, the grouping options, the summary types, and the chart. And you can click on run report, and the request will be attended, and you will fetch the results as per the report that you have configured. In case if you want to write queries and fetch the data from the database, it is also possible. We have our query editor which is available, where you can run queries. And in order to write queries, we have our DB visualizer, which is our database schema, which helps you to fetch the respective table details and column details, using which you can create your own queries and run them. And we also have option to schedule the reports. So there might be need, like you want to check the monthly request that is created very periodically. You can create a scheduled report and make sure it is running whether weekly, monthly, or yearly, and you can export it as a PDF and send it to the respective email addresses configured, and you will be able to schedule this report functionality. So other than this, we also have drill down analysis. So when we talk about drill down analysis, this feature allows users to start from the high level summarization and click on the specific metrics, which allow us to access deeper insights into the underlying data. So let's take a scenario where you want to make a drill down analysis on all the requests that is created last month. So it's a count of 39, and then you can select the priority based on which it should be drill down, and then based on the higher priority, I'm going to select the requesters who have created the request. So this way you will be able to make a deeper view and understand the request as well, which will allow us to break down the complex data into actionable insights. You can also change the criteria based on your needs. So let me show you one report that I have created. So this report, which you see, will have a chart and the details as well. So when you see this chart, you will also have a question like, do we have any option for adding this chart to the dashboard? Yes, we have. By clicking on the add dashboard option, this add to dashboard option will be available when you create a custom report, and when you save it, automatically you will get this option add to dashboard, where you can specify the tab in which this particular widget has to be added, and you can specify the view permission, whether it has to be everyone or it should be a private widget, and you can go ahead. And this automatically, once this chart is added to the dashboard, it will be available under the dashboard list, similar to that of the default dashboards that is already created. So when we talk about dashboards, the dashboards that we created from the custom reports is basically the dashboards that can be viewed only by technicians. So there might be scenarios in your organization where users will also need to see the dashboards. That is where you can create dashboard from our dashboard section and mark it as an executive dashboard. So executive dashboard option helps the users as well to look on the widgets and performance based on the needs. So this executive dashboard can be viewed by both the users and technicians in your organization, and you can share the options using the share option, and you can specify the widgets, the columns, and all of those things can be done right from the add new dashboard option. So by this we complete our agenda for today. So, getting on to the quick recap. So, we have seen about how we can configure the instance details like sites, roles, users, and its user groups as well. Next, we saw how we were able to add the end users into the application and how they can make use of the self-service adoption as well. Then we looked on how to set up the two-factor authentication, and then how to customize the ESM portal, and we saw about the SAML authentication, the AD authentication, and the LDAP authentication that is available for the users. Next, we saw the option for configuration of the mail server settings, using which we can convert an incoming email to ticket and make use of the templates and forms as well. And we also saw the customization options that is available for pre-filling the fields like category, status, priority, and etc., which is our default help desk attributes. Then we looked on the options using which we can enable Zia and make smart predictions and customize Zia actions, buttons, and workflows. We also saw the options using which Zia will increase the response time as well. And finally, we visualized the help desk metrics through pre-built, custom, query, and drill down analysis. And we saw the options using which we can convert it into a dashboard, which helps us to make a data driven decision making. And if you would like to learn more, you can use our support portal, which is available online. We also have our dedicated admin guide, using which you can find all the configuration and the features documents that is available for all the features in ServiceDesk Plus. Next comes the release notes, which is available for all the released versions, that is the upgraded versions. The features and issues fixed will be available under our release notes. We also have our product videos available in our ManageEngine YouTube channel, including our masterclass. We also have community portal where you can raise your queries. Or you can also write to us at hello@servicedeskplus.com, and we will be happy to help you out. Thank you all for joining this wonderful session. So I encourage you to explore the ITSM management in Service Desk Plus and see how they can transform your IT operations. So thank you guys. See you all on the next episode of Masterclass. Bye.